I have been working on the same game for over 1 year now. That's 365 days. That's 8,700 hours. Okay, I'm being a little dramatic, but here's how it all happened. So I've had a history of making really good games. As long as I can remember, I wanted to make games. Heck, I even wanted to make games before the Wii U, and that's saying something. Back in 2021, I finished and released my first game, Little Shell's Adventure, a beach-themed adventure. Oh, I was monologuing again. Anyways, I finished my first game, and then I served a mission for my church and didn't touch a computer again for 2 years. Now, I wouldn't take that decision back in a million years, but it did mean that I was starting with a blank canvas, at least in terms of coding when I returned just a year ago. So what does a retired game dev do to relearn? Skybox, platform, ball, tutorials. And thus came Marble Mayhem 2, inspired by Marble Mayhem 1, my first game. That's right, I made the same marble rolling game that we've made 3 times now in an attempt to remember Unity. I was gonna try and finish it, but an idea came to me, an idea that would completely change the year for me. You see, I've always been a fan of 2D platforming games. One in particular is Kirby. I remember watching a documentary once about how the original Kirby was inspired by the idea of using your enemies against themselves. Back in the olden days, that's all Kirby was. You didn't have power-ups, copy abilities, yarn tanks. The only way to take out an enemy was to shoot another enemy at it. I love the modern Kirby games, don't get me wrong, but I kind of feel like the original idea didn't get used to the fullness it could. This is when I decided it was time to make Throwbro, and to pay homage to Kirby's Dream Land, I used a color palette like the original Game Boy. It took me about 3 weeks to get a prototype out, and now that I'm looking back at the old footage, all I can say is, what is this? Throwbro with legs isn't real, he can't hurt you. He can't, no! The game went through a couple of graphical updates. The first prototype was a little better looking than that previous footage, so I sent it to my friends to play test and get feedback. And they destroyed it. They found infinite jump glitches, wall clips, and even duplication glitches. But I was frankly just fine with that. When you're this early in development, bugs aren't the issue. What matters is if the game is fun, and luckily, it was a huge hit with all my friends. It was then that I knew it was a project worth finishing, and I began to polish up my demo and make it more of what it is today. The next version had so many tweaks. I changed the aspect ratio, UI, added a parallax background, a world map, new enemies, and a whole bunch of things to expand on the prototype. It was also at this point that Dagan, the other member of Plasma Studios, joined on the project and started making stuff. Our goal with making projects has always been to make the systems first and make them as modular as possible so that in the future, all we have to do is build content out. I stress that that's the goal because it doesn't always work out. The original plan for the game was a short project to relearn coding with just about 4 worlds. Then the plan turned into an 8-world game including a cloud world, ice world, and there was even a jungle ruins world floating around in my mind for a while. And those didn't happen. But hey, 6 worlds isn't anything to be ashamed of. After about 3 months of development, we got to a point where we had all the base systems we needed in place, and we used them to complete the first world with a cold golem boss to test the player's skills. This was another crucial landmark for the game. It's nice when you can start to imagine your game complete and knowing that it's possible. For me, this world confirmed exactly that. The vision was coming along. A Kirby-like platformer all about using your enemies against themselves was in place. Then we got thinking, what other things could you throw? It turns out you can throw quite a bit. We came up with lances that you can throw to create platforms, missiles that you can hitch a ride on, balloons that allow you to infinite jump. This unfortunately didn't make it in game. We even made an umbrella to shield you from evil rain. You know how the saying goes. Rain makes corn, corn makes whiskey, and whiskey makes you want to be an epic plasma gamer. Oh, what's an epic plasma gamer, you ask? It's only the coolest group of people on the internet, and they're a delight to be around in person too. All you gotta do is hit that subscribe button, and you can be one too. Now I think the next highlight in development was when we made it to the desert world. The reason this was so special for me was because it meant the game was more than halfway done. It really started to feel attainable. We also started to really lock in on level design. Near the end, when we were making the city world, I feel like we made some of the funnest gameplay that we've ever done. And that leads us to the present day. The biggest landmark yet was launching our game just about a week ago. There's something so satisfying about launching a game on Steam and being done with a massive project. It's very legitimizing to see complete strangers play your game and fall in love with it. It likely will never be a top seller, but I'm frankly happy just to know that we can pull off something hard like this, and in a pretty reasonable time frame for 2 working college students. So what's ahead for us? A new game? Throwbro microtransactions? Plasma Studios Battle Royale? Well, I guess you'll just have to stay tuned and find out. But in the meantime, the world of Throwbro is waiting to be explored. Go throw and enjoy. See ya!